Hey Bree, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Ryan. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for joining me.
Yeah, anytime.
I'm just going to let folks give folks a few minutes to come on in. I'm joined today by Bree Padilla. She's one of our customer success managers, one of our customer success gurus. She's been a manager. She's been an IC. I thought she was a great person to join me on this topic. Bree, thanks for joining me. And before we start, I have a question for you. And I have another question for you, and I'd love to have folks answer these questions in the chat as well. What is the most outdated piece of technology that you currently own and use?
Oh, that is a good question. Maybe I would have to say my headphones. I am a big fan of just plugging in my headphones into my phone. And, I know it's annoying with the wires, and people make fun of me for that. But I just have not made the transition over to the Bluetooth headsets.
I like that one. There's been a funny trend with getting back to the wired earbuds, and I was listening to a podcast that talked about there was health effects to the Bluetooth earbuds, and I don't know if it's true or not. I haven't gone down figuring that out, but it kind of bummed me out because it was like a week after I had just gotten my first pair. And then I started having the placebo effect of like, oh my gosh, are these things like affecting my ears? Is there heat coming off of these? So that's a good one. I think for me, I'm a guitar player, so I have these like tube amplifiers from the 1950s, and I have
Oh,
a I have a guitar from the 1940s. I think those would probably be my answer for technology. Folks, if you're coming and you're joining us in the chat, let us know what technology are you still using that's really old. We're just getting things started with some icebreakers before we jump in. Um, Next question for you. What's a show that you have binge watched embarrassingly quickly?
I love this question because it's very well timed and pretty fitting. So, actually, this past weekend, I got hooked on Little Women of Atlanta. So, if you're not familiar with the show, it's actually something that was on Lifetime, I guess, a couple years ago. So, it's been around a while. They have different versions in different cities. And the show essentially follows little women or, people with dwarf with
Hmm.
can't talk, but you know what I'm saying. And they talk about the different struggles of being a little person. So, buying furniture as a new mom. That was something I never even thought of. But of course, like any other reality TV show, there's some trashy drama, which is always entertaining. So I binge watched all of season one, season two, and halfway through season three. So got a couple more seasons to go, but I would say that one's my embarrassing one.
That's awesome. I think for me, I'm a big Vanderpump Rules person. I years ago I binged through all those seasons, no regrets. I love the Vanderpump Rules series. Really, what we're doing today is we're going to explain what unified monitoring is. We're going to make the business case around it. And we're going to show you all the ways that technology like this can benefit your business and why you need it, why you need to do it first before a chat bot, before a new knowledge based system. That's what we're really going to get into today. Before we start, though, in these webinars, we also run a contest. So, sprinkled throughout this presentation deck are 4 gifts that reference movies. And today's movies are all money based because we're talking about ROI and we're talking about business case. If you're the first person to name the movie in the chat, we're going to send you a gift card. And today, all the gift cards are going to be cash gift cards to go with the theme. So, another little fly in the ointment is we're going to let people only win once. So if you've won today, then you can only win once today. So that's part of the rules. So happy guessing, and can't wait to see your answers in the chat. And so keep an eye out. There's going to be 4 of them today throughout the deck. So excited to kind of see how it goes. It's always a fun thing. So where we're going to start is looking ahead at the next 6 months. And we've got a poll for our viewers right now. to kind of find out what their priorities are across these. So there's different areas in your support organization, your success organization that you need to solve, right? And they're probably falling into one of these buckets. So it's very interesting to look across this and see, are you trying to reduce your case backlog? Are you trying to reduce escalations? Is a self-service option something that you're building? This is what we're seeing when we talk to companies today. So if I look at the poll, it looks like escalations is a big one and self-service is a big one as well. In the results that I'm seeing back, escalations is popping up over and over. So that's great. That's an important one to start, right? Because that takes so many resources. And we're going to get into that in a second. So our argument is that the first thing that you need to do before you install this chatbot or before you bring a knowledge base tool into your environment is that you need to understand and act on all the signals happening in your customer interactions. You need that observability piece, it's what we call unified monitoring, before you can go forward and do anything else in your system. And we've got our first GIF for the day. And I'm looking in the chat to see who knows this movie. Oh, it looks to me like Russell got it first. Is that what you see as well, Bree?
I do. Congratulations, okay. Russell.
Congrats, Russell. You got it. So why is unified monitoring your first investment? It's because you're getting analysis on every customer interaction. And you're also cutting expenses because now you don't need the survey software. Now you don't need these different things because surveys, while those are more reactive, now you're getting a proactive look at what's going on in your support cases. So you're able to kind of consolidate your technology. You're also getting a subscription to innovation. So you're getting AI that is specifically built for customer support and being put on your entire support history. And another part of that entire support history is you're getting a control plane that's showing you the insights across all that history. So that's why it's a great initial investment to put over your data. Bree, when you see these, what's one that really resonates the most?
I would say it has to be the automation of the analysis of the customer interaction. I'm sure we'll talk a little bit more about this in a bit, but I think that one is key, especially, talking with my customers. That's essentially why they come to SupportLogic. They want to not only make things a lot more seamless and efficient for their teams to get, this insight into the interactions, but also too, I think it's key that they're able to service at all. So again, I'd go with that one.
Okay, awesome. This dives in a little bit deeper. So when we talk about unified monitoring, this is what you can expect to do with something like that. So you can predict and prevent escalations. You can route your cases using AI. You can reduce backlog. Looking at that left column, you can get account health scores. These are all kind of operational efficiencies, but you're also getting quality monitoring, right? That's a key piece of every unified monitoring solution. And then you're getting all of these generative AI pieces, the stuff that's really within the last couple of years, very new to this marketplace of suggested responses and case summarization and all these productivity things that come in now. These are all the things that really get solved when you invest in this first. So kind of teeing up before we get into making these business cases, unified monitoring has an effect on the overall business. You can see across these 4 areas that this is beyond support operations. When agent productivity goes up and customer attrition goes down, you're affecting net dollar retention. When you can reduce escalations, when you can increase the time that folks get to spend with customers and strengthening those relationships, you increase your margins, right? You increase your contract value. And that goes into lifetime value as well, because now sales team is being more efficient. Revenue churn is going down, and margins go up. So you can see across these that these things that you can put in place really have an effect across the business. And then from there, we're really going to get into these 7 steps of how unified monitoring can affect your business. Revenue leakage is number one, right? Because escalations, we can talk about escalations in a couple different ways. We can break out a calculator and we can tell you that your escalations are 5 times the cost of a regular case. And so if you reduce expensive cases, you are theoretically making your support cheaper. But all that stuff is a little bit funny math, right? Because you're not getting any money back. You're not saving these cases. And every company's cost of escalations is different. But what is real is the effect of escalations on renewals, right, and on your contracts. So escalations, poor survey scores, at worst, they're going to cause you to have flat renewals, and even more worse, they're going to result in a churn. It's a direct cause of receding trust, of a hurt customer relationship. So that when we talk about escalation prediction and how it can help companies cut their escalation rate in half, this is that real value. It's that revenue leakage piece. Predicting escalations becomes prevented escalations, and that reduces the operational cycles. And it's this piece that is so much bigger. Bree, you have so much experience in this and how a reactive predictor does one thing to a company and how a proactive predictor can kind of do something else. Can you tell me more about this?
Yeah, I think, at least within my experience, it really depends on the maturity of your organization. And that goes both with support and customer success. I've seen a lot of, my own experiences come into play where, for example, I have a customer who's super escalated and, all of this is bubbled up. We've resolved everything, but come renewal, all of those interactions come back up and ultimately make it a challenge for the renewal. And, if you've worked on renewals before, you'll know that any customer that has had a poor experience is going to hold on to that, to justify, whether they're going to get additional discounts or justify, their reason to terminate altogether. So I think it's super important to be ahead of it, and I think the reason why it's so important is to ensure that your customer's feeling heard. They know that things are being worked on. So, they ultimately build that trust not only in you as your CSM, but also in your support team, which is super critical because those are the ones, or that is the team that is going to help resolve those issues. So, on the back end, talking with, your support team as a CSM is also very important to ensure that you're guiding your customer through a very seamless interaction, although you're not really the one who's directly impacting that. So, from my experience, I think, again, it comes with the maturity of the organization. More mature orgs are going to find these signals, and being able to be more proactive and kind of jump in and, make a more quick and strong impact altogether. Whereas, a little bit smaller teams maybe have a little bit more of a challenge there. But I think this is going to be something as a CSM that is something we're always going to see, always going to be a challenge. And, having the right signals being detected and, having the right information on, what to do next or how to mitigate that escalation is always going to be top of mind.
That's a really great point that you made. And you're right. Like you are so often in a role of helping companies achieve their goals in this area, right? So as we kind of go across these different examples, these 7 steps to making the business case, you're in that spot of, hey, I want to prevent revenue leakage. I want to increase my agent productivity. As we kind of get through these, I'd love to hear your take on how you're helping folks kind of do these. And this next one is what I kind of teed up. And before we do, we've got another GIF. I just want to jump in the chat and see who gets this one. Do you know this one?
Oh, I do.
Nice. Oh, Melissa's got it. So agent productivity. When agents can use things like case summarization, next best action, translation tools, response assist, they're really freeing up their time to do the more fulfilling work, right? We've seen that for decades across business. And I think generative AI is just that next stage. When you look at accountants, right, where they used to fill out a ledger, now they're doing things in an Excel sheet with pivot tables. It's like you're getting that next level of productivity when you install something like unified monitoring and a platform across your support cases. Jumping into the next one, we can talk more in depth about manager productivity. So their day-to-day gets easier because they're fighting fewer fires. It brings all the data under one roof. And I think my favorite bullet here is how managers can make better strategic decisions. So you can see how negative sentiment across your cases intersects with certain support teams, or how it intersects with certain product lines, right? And now you can start to see the patterns in the issues that are coming across. It's not just day-to-day firefighting. Now it's, let me look at the pattern, and from the pattern, let me make a strategic decision that affects that pattern going forward, right? Bree, is that what you see teams do?
Yeah, so I think something that a lot of my customers, do with all of the data that we provide in the application is really hone in on looking at those negative sentiments and not looking at them, just in a small frame, but expanding it in a more holistic view of, say, a quarterly or biannually cadence. That way they can really dig in into, say, something that needs attention or is super negative, and really dig in to see what is the larger issue here at hand. What is the root cause of all of these negative sentiments, or things that need attention? And coming out from that analysis, I had a customer who identified a pretty large gap when it came to their product releases. And so in that data, what they had found was, okay, when we release a certain product or at a certain time, we start to see customers, instances being impacted. And that's where we see an uptick in, support tickets. So not only an uptick in support tickets where that's affecting their backlog, but also an uptick in escalations. So what they were able to do with that data was kind of take it back, see what, again, that root cause was. And I'm forgetting exactly what that was now, but essentially they were able to drive results and make those changes, make those changes that were necessary to drive further results. At the end of the day, with that data, they were able to identify that root cause, make those changes, and then ultimately turn things around. I think it was after a couple months of that analysis and, in making those changes, they were able to see a reduction in escalation, and then also uptick in positive sentiment versus that negative sentiment. So we've seen things shuffle a little bit around, and not only were they able to do this a lot more quickly or swiftly with the data from SupportLogic, but they were ultimately able to make those changes a lot quicker as well. Had they had not had access to this data, probably would have taken them a little bit longer to dig into their CRM and, review each case by case.
That makes a lot of sense. And it can be hard to enact organizational change like that if you don't have the data to back it up, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're going off of a hunch, or if you're going off kind of a back of the napkin calculation, it's a lot harder than coming in with a clear chart showing the correlation between two different things and how that may actually be a causation as well. I think that's a really powerful story. We're kind of 3 down. We've got 4 to go on these different ways that unified monitoring can really affect your business. These next 2 are a really interesting kind of cost exercise, I think. So deferred hiring, right? When you're able to do the same with the same team, you're able to do more stuff. Now you can launch a new chatbot. Now you can launch a new knowledge management system. Now there are the time cycles to do these things, right? So you've deferred hiring with a tool like this, because now you're able to do more with the same team, which is a very cool thing. So you can take on these new projects without having to take on more headcount. And to kind of go hand in hand with that, you're also able to retain your best talent, because every role should get the opportunity to work smarter, easier. That's really what unified monitoring does. And I'm a big believer that the systems that we use really matter, right? I've had past roles where I've used an old laptop connected to old systems. And then I've gotten into roles like the one I'm in now, where I get to use a beautiful laptop with incredible multitasking systems. And so that's a huge difference in how I work every day. It's a pleasure to kind of use the system I use as an analogy to this. And I think that holds true for support organizations as well, is when you're able to automate the tedious tasks, when you're able to bring performance tracking in and make it not so much of a chore for your QA managers and your support managers, you're able to really get them to do a lot more easier. And then you're also able to track development, because every person who's got an eye on their career wants to be developed and trained in a consistent way. So that's what's great about an auto QA tool, which is part of unified monitoring. Kind of moving into part 6 here, operational efficiencies. So this is where all these cases kind of intersect that we talked about at the top, where it comes to reducing your backlog, reducing your escalations, using proactive alerts, routing your cases. You're getting operational efficiencies across all these. And this graphic that we have on the right really breaks down what that looks like in the income statement. So with better customer relationships, you're going to drive up revenue and renewals. With a support team that is operating more efficiently, now your cost of business is going down, right? You're able to take on more projects with the same headcount, things like that. So that's sort of that increase in gross margin that you're seeing, the combination of those two arrows. Below that is your HR costs. It's your operating expenditures of, okay, well, I'm keeping my amazing team. I don't have to spend recruiting costs to go out and get a new team because I'm not developing them in the right way. So you're gaining on that pieces. You're also gaining in an IT way, where when you take a vendor solution like this and you install it, you are minimizing the load that it takes for IT to have to work on it, because solutions like this are just plug and play. You go through procurement, you partner with a company that has robust enterprise level security, and you're able to administer this yourself, or you're able to administer this with the vendor's customer success managers like Bree. So IT isn't part of this day to day. It's not a way down on your OpEx. And so that's another piece of increasing your net income. And a piece that kind of leads into that as well is your software consolidation. So you're able to save hard dollar costs on your CRM licenses, because customer success, product, outside teams, they can all come into the support data without having to go into Salesforce or Zendesk or ServiceNow. And you're consolidating that software stack. So your need for survey software and your need for case routing software is not as crucial. You've got those early signals. You've got those proactive signals. So the reactive surveys aren't as needed. And then the last piece is this data analytics team piece. And like I said at the top, I kind of refer to that as the subscription to this continuous innovation, where you're getting AI that's built specifically for complex support. Bree, tech consolidation. When you look across these, is there one that stands out to you?
I would say that the consolidated software altogether is a hot topic. Everyone is trying to find that one solution that does it all. Unfortunately, there's not, but I would say that a lot of, at least my customers from what I've experienced, are looking for, if the platform doesn't do it all, can they integrate with one that does, and is that seamless? Can I still have the same workflows and have the same experience? But I will say that people that are looking to consolidate their software tech or their stack is a hot topic right now. And if they're not looking for one single vendor, they're looking to make sure that all their vendors work well together.
Yeah, that's a great one. And the IT leaders that we talk to are looking for that same thing. It's like, there's a lot of hype right now in AI, but what's the enterprise level solution that I can get into that I know is going to return investment for me, right? I don't want to build a ChatGPT derivative. I don't want to go with an upstart that may not be protecting my data. I don't want to go with something where it doesn't have that security pipeline that I'm looking for. So all those pieces are things that IT folks are considering, because they're getting pressure across the business to start implementing IT in various areas. And so that's a key part of it. one thing I want to kind of flash on real quick is this part when we make this case is how expensive data analytics can be for a specific business unit. You're talking about at least one data scientist. You're talking about maybe reducing the need for another escalation engineer or QA manager. And then these different analysts that go along with something like this. So this is kind of the direction you go down with a build versus a buy. And then here on the right are the benefits that you see if you treat this as a vendor solution, right? If you bring in an enterprise-ready vendor to handle all these things, there's benefits beyond just this headcount, right? Now you've got a data science team that is continually updating AI models. You are able to swarm cases before. So this is almost like having 10 escalation managers that are reading all your cases all the time. And it's the same thing with QA managers. This is like having, 10 QA managers that are reading all cases all the time, looking for the perfect case to coach off of or to train off of. So beyond that, you've also got data analyst presets kind of already built and stuff like this. And you've got a cohort of customers and continual product development beyond just relying on your own IT department. So tons of great opportunities there. And we're going to roll right into our third GIF. And I'm going to look back in the chat and see who can get this one.
I expect to see a lot of responses on this one.
Yeah, this one feels very, very obvious. Okay.
Rachel, I have Rachel as the first respondent.
I have Rachel as well. And gosh, was that a close one?
Yes, it was.
It was like they all just like came in at the same time. So congrats, Rachel and Alyssa and Merrick. We've got one more. And so good luck on that one. So let me click away and then we can get talking about this. So we look at this economic impact in 3 phases, right? Day 1 of unified monitoring. Why do you change on day 1? It's because you're going to start protecting your relationships. You're going to now see the full haystack and where those needles might be. Day 90, now you're going to start reducing costs, right? Now you're making those decisions. You're reducing your escalations. You're freeing up time to kind of work on new projects. There are companies that can do this in 45 days. Even Informatica is a customer of ours that does that. And then in the 9 to 12 months, that's where the customer relationships and the revenue leakage really get affected, right? That's where your renewals are starting to hit. And the elevation of your support experience is now creating this different conversation that happens on renewal time, right, Bree?
Mm-hmm. I would say so.
So that's what's really interesting there. And then kind of getting into this final stage here, and I feel like I may have lost a GIF. I think we're supposed to have 4 GIFs, and I've only seen 3. So maybe our last one is hiding, but I may have to kind of jump back into the deck and find it. The benefits of this really accrue company-wide. By investing in unified monitoring, this is sort of the whole picture of what we're talking about with the benefits that you're getting. You're getting product and engineering who can now make better products because they're getting the voice of the customer in their product development. Customer success isn't going through tickets, looking for problems. Now they're kind of getting notified of those problems right up the front. All down the left here, of the support productivity and efficiencies are obvious, but there's customer lifetime value, and there's a lot of vulnerability benefits and development benefits for IT as well. I just wanted to flash a customer of ours on the screen, Informatica, who is seeing benefits across the board for all of this. And they're going to be joining us in a week, actually, to talk about this in a webinar that I invite you to join. They have an amazing story about how they were doing AI in their support team, and then they installed SupportLogic and unified monitoring, and now they're doing even more. Now they're installing a new knowledge-based system, and they're doing things with all this freed up time that they have across their company. So this is an invite to we have a series of community events that we put on every year called SX Live City Tours. And if you're in any one of these cities, I invite you to come join us. And really what this is this is a chance to connect with support and success leaders and VPs and managers and practitioners. We always have amazing speakers at these events. And it's just a great opportunity in your city to kind of network with folks in your industry. And then one thing I really want to do is I think I may have skipped over a GIF. So I'm just going to go back and find, here we go. It was on this screen and I kind of jumped through it too quick. So for anybody who, I saw Marvin. Did you see Marvin?
I did.
All right, Marvin. Thanks for getting that last one. Sorry, everybody, that I kind of missed in the flow of things. I jumped past that GIF. That's all right. That happens sometimes. I'm just gonna pop back over here and thank everyone for joining us. Bree, thanks for joining me in your amazing stories on kind of what you're seeing in this space. And it was great sharing the stage with you. And I invite folks on April 16th to join us at a TSIA webinar with Informatica.